Hey guys, Grimmett here, co-owner of Actualize Sports and Fitness and founder of Physio, and I'm excited to kind of share my story about why I'm here and what I'm passionate about. So for me, it began, way back in probably middle school. I just grew up like loving sports and all types of sports, and just wanting to be able to compete and have fun with friends, and then the idea crept into my mind of like becoming a collegiate athlete, and I just became consumed with sports in a family that was not all about sports. So that was an interesting, kind of an interesting deal for me. I grew up with a family that was like more interested in like the hunting aspect of things, and like riding horses and rodeoing and that type of thing. So that has kind of, me being interested in something else has been kind of cool. It's allowed me to drive in a different direction. And so going into high school, I quickly realized that I wasn't the best athlete on the field, and that never really stopped me because I've always been extremely competitive. And to me, I was able to give myself a competitive edge when it came to just the off-season prep. And so I became consumed with like the fitness side of things and what can I do to give myself any sort of competitive edge. And it was starting to work, and I was seeing kind of like my fruits of labor manifest on the field. And then my sophomore year came around, and I found myself with a pretty significant knee injury, like the first game of the season, just a few minutes in. And that required surgery and a lot of physical therapy. And then it just took a long time for me to kind of come back and gain my confidence. And within that, I got exposed to like the rehab side of performance through those pretty much a little over a year of physical therapy. Fast forward a few months after that, I was kind of feeling back to normal and back in the weight room, and coming off that injury, I got introduced to Coach Blaine, and that's where our story starts. Is Blaine kind of took me in and trained me for a couple of years, and pushed me to be my best version of myself. And in that process, I fell further in love with the idea of just like, what can we do to grow and become the absolute best version of ourselves? And this is, to me, it's unmatched. Like, I can't walk away from it. And there was such deep relationships that were built, and like profoundness that kind of pushed me in a different direction, I think, for my future. And just seeing from an early age, like how you can put so much into something and like reap those benefits, like that is a big deal. I'm trying to get emotional talking about that. That's weird. So then I started getting interested in the idea of like, okay, fitness is one thing, performance is one thing, and rehab seems to be all in a separate category. What happens if we start to blend those types of things? So the collegiate route didn't really work out. I was never going to be a football player in college. I wanted to be, but I just don't have the gifts to do that. And I started being more curious about the performance side of things, and started volunteering at Wenatchee High School and kind of helping with the weight room stuff and as an assistant coach. And that's kind of when my passion started to take off, is just being on the opposite side of things, to where when I was with Coach Blaine, he was the guy that was kind of breathing life into me and pushing me to be my best version of myself. And I got to turn around and do that with a bunch of local kids. And I started with the freshmen, and that was really fun to be able to work with those guys through their like kind of high school career. And all the while I was going to the community college in town, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do, while having this PT side, the physical therapy side of things, in the back of my mind. And then that was kind of the route I chose to do. It was like, okay, I love fitness. I love watching people get better. I love seeing like the confidence that comes from it, and just like the mental and spiritual and physical changes that manifest. And so I'm like, how can I advance my understanding of just kind of movement and like keep people healthy, but also be able to perform at a high level? And that's where the PT side of things came in. So I went to grad school and got a doctorate of physical therapy, and spent some time kind of like traveling around the Northwest and doing clinicals. And within those clinicals, getting exposed to a bunch of different settings and a bunch of different varieties, and working with youth athletes and weekend warriors and kind of your geriatrics population, and even up to the professional athlete level. And then my last rotation, I was in Oregon in Portland and got exposed to a hybrid clinic down there that was, half physical therapy, half strength and conditioning, that were kind of two separate entities. And met some pretty cool mentors that I'm still in contact with now, and just got to see how good those individuals were at like using scientific principles and evidence to like drive what they're trying to do. And it kind of takes away the guesswork, and that's where I get really passionate about, is like the idea that I can use these scientific principles to drive outcomes, but also have this different mindset on knowledge on how we can coach and cue and position things, and be very diligent about how we go about things, and just watch people like reap those rewards. And so that's led me back. Like, I came back to the Valley probably 2 years ago now, a little over 2 years ago. My wife and I are both from here. We came back when she got pregnant with our daughter and kind of planted our roots. And I thought for a while that I was just going to be a normal PT and kind of work a typical schedule. And I just felt like a part of me was like not alive. And so I couldn't hide from the fitness side of things. And so Blaine and I have been in contact forever because of 10 plus years ago when he was working with me. He's become one of my closest friends. And so here I am, and I'm just super excited to be back into this industry and to be able to help people move better and lead healthier lifestyles, and hopefully make some just better long-term habits, and also just to like grow in relationships, and that this is much more than just fitness, and that it's a collaborative approach. And I just love the idea of being able to empower individuals to like create change, and that's where my view on physical therapy is a little bit different, and why I wanted to branch out and try something that may be a little bit against the mainstream. And I really don't like where our current medical system's at, and how we have these like specific categorizations of things. And to me, a lot of times, if you don't have a background in like medicine or medical terminology, a lot of these things come across as negative, and we try to categorize people in normal and abnormal. And to me, at the end of the day, it's like, how can I help you be the best version of yourself and spin it in a positive way without fixating on all these negative things? So I've said it a couple times already, but just the idea of being able to absolutely empower people of, okay, here's where you are. We know it's nothing seriously negative, right? We've ruled out the red flags. Now here's our options. Let's walk in this together. Like, versus me being like, this is what you have to do to be better. There's a bunch of different ways to go about it. And then again, being very rooted in those scientific principles to kind of drive the outcomes. So I don't believe in like a quick fix or some sort of gadget tool that I can pull out of my bag to fix you. It's just deeply rooted in those principles of, like patient education, science. This is going to be challenging, but also like, let's walk in this together, because that's a huge component of it too, is the mental aspect. So I hope that all makes sense, and I'm just really excited to be back and working with everybody, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you all. Thanks.